How does the equitable distribution doctrine apply? Imagine a couple deciding how to split everything after a divorce. The way their property and debts are divided depends on a legal rule called the equitable distribution doctrine. This rule is used by most states in the United States to decide how to fairly divide assets and liabilities acquired during the marriage. It's important because it focuses on fairness, not just splitting everything down the middle. When a marriage ends, the first step is figuring out what counts as marital property. Assets like the family home, cars, retirement accounts, and savings earned during the marriage are included. Anything owned before the marriage or received as a gift or inheritance specifically for one spouse is usually considered separate property and not part of the division. If the value of assets changes after separation, those changes are called divisible property. For example, if a retirement account increases in value after separation, that increase is part of divisible property. Courts look at many factors to decide what is fair. They consider how long the marriage lasted, each spouse's age and health, and how much each contributed financially or in caring for children. If one spouse stayed home to raise children, the court might give that spouse a larger share of the marital assets to support their role. They also examine each spouse's earning potential and future financial needs. For example, if one spouse sacrificed career growth to support the family, the court might award more assets to that person. The process involves identifying and valuing all property, then dividing it into two groups, marital and separate. All marital assets are listed and assigned to each spouse. If one spouse ends up with more than half of the total value, they might owe a cash payment called a distributive award to balance things out. Usually, courts start with a goal of splitting assets roughly equally but can award more to one side if justified by the circumstances. There are two main ways to resolve property division. One is through a judge's court order after hearing both sides. The other is through private agreements or mediation, where couples work out a division themselves with a neutral mediator. This often leads to less conflict and a smoother transition. Once the court finalizes an equitable distribution, it cannot be changed later. Unlike child support or alimony, which can be modified if circumstances change, property division is permanent. This makes it very important to carefully value and consider all assets and debts during the process. The law applies to all types of property, including the family home, retirement accounts, pensions, investments, business interests, and even personal belongings of significant value. It also ensures debts are divided fairly, so one spouse isn't unfairly burdened with all the liabilities. In essence, the equitable distribution doctrine guides courts to divide property and debts in a way that is fair based on the specifics of each marriage, making sure both spouses are treated justly after their relationship ends.